takes place in countries spread from the north of Europe to the plains of Africa. It attracts spectators to the most remote places. Champions in this sport must be able to win on any terrain. The world's major car makers spend huge sums to win the World Manufacturers' Championship. And yet, most people who see rallying, or even who see the advertisements taken by the manufacturers to proclaim their successes, understand very little about the sport. How many of these spectators could explain exactly how you win a rally? Or what regulations govern the specification of the cars? Or even how long the rally is? Is it 200 miles? 2,000? It's actually a fascinating sport, making great psychological and physical demands on the crews, calling for great planning skills from the organizers and the team chiefs, and highly advanced technology from the designers and constructors of the cars. First, we have to explain just what a rally is. It's difficult to make a tight definition because each World Championship rally has its own special features. For example, the Marlborough Safari Rally. This covers a 5,000-kilometer route across Kenya. The roads are so tough and the distance so great that unlike other rallies, the results aren't calculated in seconds. The cars are so far apart that minutes will do. To make a crucial point, a rally is not a race. The competitors are not trying to overtake each other, but are competing against the clock. It's what appeals to drivers like Michel Mouton.
We are always alone in rallying. We start every minute, and we don't know what the other one are doing. You go for 50 miles or 20 miles, and you never know what the other one are doing. You are just fighting against yourself, and it's what I like. I am fighting only against myself. And after we compare, when we have finished the stage, we compare with the other one. But during the stage, the only fight is against yourself, to try to go on your own limit. And you don't know what the other one are doing. This is fantastic. The feeling is fantastic. I think it's impossible to explain it. But the feeling when you feel that everything is going well between the notes from the co-driver, the car going well, and you feel all these three things all together, you feel nothing can happen. You are like flying, like it's something you feel nobody can be better.
The basic principle is that the car which has completed the route in the shortest possible time is the winner. But what does the route consist of? This is a typical rally route. The fast, special stages are marked in red. The slow road sections joining them together are shown in green. A rally like this will cover over 2,000 miles in 5 days. An international rally is not a test of map reading and navigating, or of finding your way to a particular place. As well as the map, competitors are given a road book with comprehensive instructions for the whole route. But even with this book, it does seem to be possible to get lost. This competitor is following the old adage, ask a policeman. So, the principle of the contest is that there are a number of timed stages on roads or tracks closed to other traffic. These are called special stages, and they are joined together because apart from anything else, you have to get from one to another by sections of ordinary public road. The public road sections are timed to the nearest minute to keep the rally running to its overall timetable. But to prevent the competitors breaking local speed limits, at the end of a road section, cars must clock in exactly on time. They lose at least twice as many points for being early as they do for being late. That's why these cars are hanging back just before the check-in. They'll drive up onto the ramp at exactly the correct moment. The real rally action is on the special stages. These are timed against the clock from a standing start to a flying finish. start at intervals of at least 1 minute, and the special stage has to be a minimum of 2 kilometers. An international rally will usually have at least 800 kilometers of this flat-out driving. European rallies are usually won and lost on these special stages, and so timing here is to the nearest second. Rallying was not always like this. Motor vehicle competitions started before the First World War as road trials, a basic desire by both manufacturers and public to prove the reliability of these relatively new mechanical devices in difficult conditions over long distances. By the 1930s, events had come into existence which we might almost recognize as modern rallies. They were over shorter distances and had driving tests at the end of the road sections. The Monte Carlo was the classic event of the 1930s, elegant and pretty leisurely. The winning ladies even received a bunch of flowers. After the Second World War, rallying became a little more serious. In this era, British cars and drivers did extremely well. But running these virtual races on public roads became socially unacceptable. By the 60s, forestry roads and little-used mountain roads became the battleground for rally drivers. Gradually, the cars began to differ more and more from their road car counterparts, and rallies became bigger and bigger business as the major manufacturers struggled to achieve victories, which certainly helped their sales figures. By the early 1970s, the modern rally had been created, a series of road sections joining together special stages where the cars could really fly. If the modern rally is not a navigation test, then you may well wonder what the co-driver does. He hardly ever drives the car. He's in charge of the route, and the relationship between driver and co-driver is crucial. Markku Alén has driven Kiki Kivimäki to many rally wins and knows the co-driver is responsible for a great percentage of their success.
Co-drivers is very important, and I don't know, I say it's 50%, 70% or 90%, but anyways, very important.
I think I'm more with him than he is with his wife.
Some rallies publish their entire route in advance. In the month before the San Remo rally, for example, drivers and co-drivers will recce all the special stages and prepare a comprehensive set of instructions known as the pace notes.
In a recce, I'm writing the notes. Markku is telling and I'm writing how fast he will drive and what kind of bend it is and from which side he wants to go, how he wants to drive it. I have a special book. It's heavy paper, so that you feel it at once if you take 2 pages. And it's one very important thing during the stage that you don't miss the page. And after I need a waterproof pen, because in many rallies we are swimming also inside the car, so it must be waterproof, what I'm written. Otherwise I lose it after going to river.
Without the pace notes, Markku Alén wouldn't know exactly how to approach the brow of a hill, for example. Could he take it flat out, or is there a hairpin bend on the other side? To record hundreds of miles of special stages, and then flat out down a hill. Before anybody could read that lot, they'd be in the ditch. So this is what Kivimäki's shorthand looks like.
Slowliest we have is a hairpin, like that, and it's a hairpin right here. After we have slow right, medium, after it comes to fast. after it's flat. And if we come to brow, I sign it and it's a brow, like that. If it's jumping, I put here that it's jumping, attention. Nyt pitäisi 70 oikein eri nopea sumppuun, 100. Nyt pitäisi 50 oikein nopea kirraa.
The unfamiliar language you hear is Finnish. In recent years, Finnish crews, accustomed to dirt roads in their own country, have won no less than 40% of World Championship rallies. But what makes a good co-driver?
I think the most important is to be calm and to be able to organize many things, because in our team are, let's say, 25 people going around and they have to know what they do. So with the team managers and the other people, I have to coordinate all the things what we need during the rally.
Which brings us to the rally driver himself, or herself.
The main spirit is to want it to win. And this, you know, when you want something, you can go over your limit. I mean, to try to force your limits. And I think it's a fact you can become good and better and to have success.
Now, since a rally is not a race, each car is out on its own, one of the racing driver's principal skills, overtaking, is completely irrelevant. And no racing driver competes for a period of several days and nights. So tough is this aspect of rallying that the regulations insist that after 48 hours, the crews must have one night's sleep. To drive at this speed, day after day, with a little snatched sleep, needs great determination.
If you have a good car and you can win, you forget if you are tired. You don't think about this problem, you know. People are always, they don't understand how we can stay night and days on the car fighting. But, you know, for us, sometimes it's going very quickly. You said we have only 2 stages more to do and it's finished and you are fighting to get a better result, you know. So I think it's just a question of motivation.
But what about the techniques of driving a rally car? Different cars need different techniques. Marco Allen's Lancia, which has won many rallies, is rear-wheel drive. And here he shows us exactly how to go through a corner as quickly as possible. Coming into the corner, he hangs the back of the car out and then balances it with the accelerator and the steering. The front wheels, at the sharpest part of the corner, will point outwards, balancing the slide. But Marco tries to be as little sideways as he can.
You go too much sideways, you pay immediately. That's not fastest way, you go in sideways. That's absolutely. You fight now in 4-wheel car. It's better you go all the time straight on.
On loose surfaces, the advantage of four-wheel drive is at its greatest, because the struggle is not to find enough power, but to translate that power into traction and forward motion. Michèle Mouton is the only woman ever to win a World Championship rally, and here she shows us the fastest way round a corner in her four-wheel drive Audi Quattro. The characteristic of four-wheel drive is understeer. At the apex of the corner, the wheels point into the corner, not outwards. Competition turbo engines develop their greatest power when they're running fast. So Michèle keeps her right foot flat on the accelerator and controls the car by braking at the same time with her left foot. The engine has a cutout to prevent damage by over-revving when driving this way. Hence the intermittent engine noise you hear as the brakes are held on all the way around a corner. All this requires remarkable skill, as you can see when Marco Allin deliberately spins his Lancia on a wet gravel road scarcely wider than the length of the car. Not just anybody can get into a World Championship rally. The regulations are very strict about this. First, there must be 50 starters. With fewer than this, the event will lose its World Championship status. The drivers themselves are seeded, and this is important because the top drivers start first. Since on the rough or gravel sections, the road deteriorates with the passing of each car, the nearer the front you are at the start, the better. All the drivers have considerable rally experience. This is not a place for ambitious beginners. Although many rally cars look like the ones you can buy at your local dealers, under the skin, they're very different. The Lancia rally car may look like the Lancia Monte Carlo road car, but it has a supercharged 350 horsepower engine, a tubular frame, and a lightweight body. The Peugeot 205, in its road version, is front-engine, front-wheel drive. The rally version is a mid-engine two-seater with a turbocharged engine and four-wheel drive. Rally car specifications are strictly controlled by regulations. In the fastest and most specialized class, these regulations state that the manufacturer will have built, in 1 year, 200 identical examples of the exact model that's used in competition. That's why you can buy road versions of the special rally cars, like this Audi Quattro Sport, at anything up to 4 times the price of the original road car. What is so different about a rally car? Let's compare a perfectly standard road Quattro with the rally version. To save weight, most of the metal body parts have been replaced with Kevlar, a very light glass fiber composite. But since this will have removed most of the strength from the original car's structure, the rally car is reinforced by robust aluminium tubes. It virtually has a separate frame. These tubes are needed particularly where the car takes a pounding, like the top front suspension mount. Inside, the car is further reinforced by more tubes. These run all around the cockpit and form a roll cage to protect the crew if they're unlucky enough to turn the car over. The interior is gutted of all superfluous trim, painted black to stop reflections. These cars are probably worth $125,000 each. A rally isn't just won by brilliant driving. Preparation is as important as the event itself. In between each rally, the car will be completely stripped down to the last nut and bolt. All the separate major mechanical components, like the engine and gearbox, will be removed for checking and rebuilding. On this car, the heated windscreen has had to be replaced. A service truck backs each car in the UK Audi team, and it's ingeniously crammed with spares. Including tyres, it carries over 1.5 tons of them. This includes anti-roll bars, brake discs and pads, drive shafts, and a radiator unit. Then, on the left, there's a complete exhaust system, a spare differential, and underneath that, a gearbox. Naturally, there are 4 spare spring and damper units, and since the Quattro is a turbo car, you'd be foolish to go out without a spare turbo. These tyres aren't enough for a whole rally, only enough for 3 or 4 special stages. Even on the special stages, the support crew is not far behind, or above. This fuel truck has been brought to a field in the Italian countryside, especially to refuel the chase helicopters used by the Lancia teams on the San Remo rally. The Lancia backup consists of over 30 people. This includes secretarial staff, people who build the cars, who service them, support vehicle drivers, the helicopter pilot, and so on. All of them are directed by the team manager over the radio from his helicopter. On his radio frequency, he can also talk to the drivers.
We have 10 vans and 2 fast cars. We have also an helicopter, because with helicopter you can save a car if a car is a problem into the special stage. We have 2 mechanics in the helicopter, normally with myself. We can land and we can, let's say, if the problem is not a big problem, we have quite a lot of spare parts, and that is very important, because maybe in 2 or 3 minutes we can have the car still running on the road.
Between each section of the rally, the cars are put in a sealed car park, the Parc Fermé. You can't just work forever on your car, rebuilding the entire vehicle. But that doesn't prevent the teams attempting massive rebuilds. The drivers will try to gain time on the road section so that they can go to their pre-arranged service point before they have to check in. They can be penalized for being early as well as for being late, so they have some leeway. The service point will be set up so that the mechanics, in this case 8 to each car, can even replace a gearbox in 10 minutes. Somehow there's time for a little cleaning to be done on the bodywork too. The drivers may be impatient while all the work goes on, but there's little they can do except sit around.
You know, it's what I like in this sport. It's a relation. Everybody, you are in a team and you have a mechanic, you have a manager, you have co-driver, you have driver, you have a car. And everybody has to be the best. And, you know, so the relation between person is very important. And of course, if you are in a good team and you have a good relation with people, it helps you psychologically. If I was in a team and I don't feel people around me, not confident at all, I will not be good for sure.
On a 5-day rally, the mechanics work really hard, about 90 hours, and that's as well as driving from one place to another. In the course of some 40 minutes here, as well as making any necessary repairs and carrying out routine checks like replacing the brake pads, the mechanics will replace the car's entire suspension system. It will be fitted with new springs and dampers, new wheels and tires. And despite the pressure of time, the new suspension setup will be meticulously checked electronically. The changing of the suspension is crucial, because as the rally moves from tarmac or hard surfaces to gravel or loose surfaces, the car needs a totally different setup in its running gear. After all the work is done, the cars will have to be driven back to their road section route and checked in on time, and then, of course, put into the Parc Fermé for the night. On loose, bumpy surfaces, the car has to be set higher. The suspension has to have a long travel and be stiff enough to take a very considerable pounding. Whereas on these smooth roads, the suspension has to be harder, set much lower with less travel, and the car has to roll less. In fact, it's set up much like an out-and-out racing car. It's impossible for any ordinary driver to imagine the performance of a 350 horsepower four-wheel drive rally car. So, we've set up a comparison between a two-wheel drive road car and a rally car. The road car is a Volkswagen Golf GTI. Its fuel-injected 1.8-litre engine gives a top speed around 118 miles an hour, and it accelerates to 60 miles an hour in less than 9 seconds. The Golf is being driven by Chris Slater, a former British rally champion. And to give him a reasonable chance against the rally car, he's going to get a start. The two cars are being compared over a distance of 1.5 kilometers, like a very short special stage. Michèle Mouton, in her Audi Quattro rally car, may be getting impatient. It's nearly 25 seconds since the Golf started. On the short straight, Chris Slater briefly gets the Golf GTI up to 70 miles an hour.
Get the speed down carefully, no protection under the car. I've got to avoid the biggest bumps and the biggest potholes.
The Quattro reaches 100 miles an hour on the straight and can totally disregard the condition of the road.